Ladies and gentlemen, Mark Walters filling your prescription for freedom today and every day here in front of the Patriot Mobile Communication and Command Center. Mike at the Patriot Mobile Ranch. It's all brought to you by the National Rifle Association. Greg in Dallas, Texas. How you doing today, my brother from another mother?
Not too bad. We are trying not to melt out here at 106.
Yeah, I was going to tell you, it's the hot CZ Studios. It's hot.
It's the hot SRN Studios right now.
But I'm not there. I'm worried about the CZ Studios.
Yeah, well, we're both worried about each studios.
That's because we're worried about ourselves, because we're humans. We're going to talk about being human here in just a few minutes. Greg, we're on all of our platforms today, with the exception of Rumble, and that's Rumble's fault. Too bad for them. Pox on Rumble. They'll fix their issues one day, and when they do, we'll be back on Rumble. But that's up to them. You can tell everybody where to do that. We'll get started. We do have Neil McCabe jumping in from the White House. Neil is at the White House right now. He is scurrying off the grounds over there so he can get to a place where he'll be able to join us. He'll be with us in the second, third, and fourth segment of the program. Reporter Neil McCabe from Real America's Voice. Just want to let you know that, Greg. Take it away. We'll get going. It's me and you for a segment. We'll have some fun.
All right, sure. Places to watch the show going to be YouTube and Facebook. Just do a search for Armed American Radio with Mark Walters. If you're over on X, you can watch us at AAR Mark. You can always watch us over at armedamericanradio.org or .com. Hit that menu icon, then select your watch live or listen live option. And if you'd like to join our live chat, just download Telegram, create your profile, and search for Armed American Radio Conversations.
Yeah, that'll do it. Thanks, Greg. Appreciate that. So, we've spent some time talking about the flock cameras over the last couple of weeks, right?
Oh, yeah, everybody is.
Everybody is. And it is news everywhere. No question about that. There's a lot of questions about that. And I mentioned the deputies in my local area. And lo and behold, today, I get my local paper. Today. 2 hours ago, pops in my inbox. Probably there earlier, but I didn't see it for just a couple hours ago. Top story. Former sheriff's deputy arrested for misusing flock camera system. Today.
Shocking.
He was arrested last night. This was today's report. I'm going to read you a little bit of this. This was just updated 4 hours ago. Can it get any fresher than that? Yeah, maybe 3, 2, or 1, right? But I think
might as well be.
In geologic time, this is happening right this second. Okay. Another sheriff's office employee, so patrol deputy, has been fired and arrested after he was found to have misused the automated license plate reader system. His name is Jerry Shellhouse, 57 years old, was fired and arrested August 19th. What's today's date?
Today is the 20th. Yep.
He was arrested yesterday. After an internal investigation, he's charged with 1 felony count of violation of oath of office and 1 misdemeanor count of prohibition on law enforcement retaining license plate data obtained through automated license plate recognition systems. Now, somebody's going to come up with an acronym for that, and they'll make it fun. According to the sheriff's office, the investigation started when the agency became aware of an allegation that an employee may have improperly used the system between October 2023 and December 2025, just 9 months ago, for non-law enforcement purposes.
Shocking.
The arrest comes after 3 of the agency's employees were arrested earlier this year. I think I had said 4, so apparently it's 3. On similar charges of using flock safety license plate cameras for purpose other than law enforcement. Since then, the sheriff's office, I want you to pay very careful attention to what the sheriff has to say about this because it's very telling. The sheriff's office reports that it has, get this, changed its flock policy and implemented new safeguards for the system's use, including conducting audits at least twice a year, limiting access to authorized users for all individuals with system access, and providing additional training on the appropriate use of flock technology. Now, just that alone tells me something, that these things are absolutely ripe for abuse, period.
100%.
100%, period. Just let's go back and let's look at that one more time. Changed its flock policy and implemented new safeguards. New safeguards. The old ones didn't work. How long before the new ones are the old ones, Greg? Okay.
Pretty soon the new ones will be the old ones again.
You think this is the end-all, do-all because these new ones are the ones that are going to do it all? No. The end-all, do-all, do it all? No, these aren't, ladies and gentlemen. They're not. This is just the next step. Because there's bad people in all walks of life. It doesn't matter who they are, what they do, what they put on when they go to work. It doesn't matter. There's cops in jail, judges in jail, accountants in jail, Indian chiefs in jail. There's probably aliens, meaning outer space aliens in jail that we're not even aware of, or outer space aliens. Come on, man. We're human beings. Come on, man. Come on, man. I forgot about that old geezer. I saw a picture of him today that was just, wow.
His cancer's not doing too well. It's doing
it was
us,
an old photo.
him.
It was one of the old ones they took. Let's just say it was not flavorful. Let's say it was one of those photos that was not flattering or flavorful by any stretch of the imagination. He just had his jaw drop. He looked like he was chewing cud. Anyway, why are we wasting our time with that clown? He's past history. But when you look at this statement here, that the policy implemented new safeguards for the system's use, including conducting audits at least twice a year. How about audits once a week? How about that? Limiting access to authorized users. It's already limited to authorized users. It's already limited to authorized users. So I can't go in there because I'm not a what?
You're not a law enforcement officer.
I'm not an authorized user. Okay. Yep. So who becomes authorized users? Whoever they want becomes an authorized user. We'll make him one, and her one. But he's not anymore. Whew, glad he's not. System's safe now because he's not an authorized user. Just those three are. Okay.
All these people went through the most extensive background checks, and they can't behave.
Yeah. They also took oaths of office. We trust them. We give them great authority.
They should
powers of arrest, powers to wreck your life, ladies and gentlemen.
The power to kill you.
I've been in contact with and talking with a young lady in my area that will hopefully be on this program very, very soon. And she is a warrior, man. I'm telling you, what a warrior. Natasha, if you're listening, good heavens, I can't wait to bring you to this program. What happened to her, ladies and gentlemen, I won't steal the thunder, is absolutely outrageous. And I'm telling you, this young lady has got, she's standing in the ring with Mike Tyson, man. Okay. And got him on the ropes.
Figuratively, I assume.
Figuratively.
Yeah.
Metaphorically speaking. Okay. She's not an authorized user either. Oh,
I've seen videos of lots of unauthorized users accessing flock cameras throughout.
I've seen pictures of authorized users now charged with felonies and going to jail. There's that. But requiring mandatory user certification for all individuals. Well, okay, these individuals are also mandatorily certified in other things in their job. What makes this any different? And provide additional training on the appropriate use. Okay, we told you can't do that. So hear me. I'm going to tell you that twice because now we have additional training. Did you hear me? Repeat after me. You can't do that. I can't do that. Again, I can't do that. That's additional training. What additional training? I mean, come on. You're just making stuff up here. No, what that says is these things are ripe for abuse. This is a fun, debatable topic because they do have their place. I'm not going to argue that. Now, this is where it gets really interesting, and I'm not going to go into this today, but we will at a future point. Do we get rid of all flock cameras because of a few bad apples? Do we get rid of all guns because of a few bad apples?
No.
One's right. This way.
One is not.
Flock cameras are an infringement on my rights. Guns are my right.
Well, and speaking of rights and giving how this week started off, these people that are going to be charged with felonies, possibly convicted of felonies, do they get their rights back down the line?
I'm going to guess.
Using flock cameras?
I would, I'd have to dig into the deal at the DOJ, but it certainly is not a violent felony. Well, wait a minute. Hold on. Well, it depends on how we define violence. If you're one of these people that have been using this, think about this. Why would somebody put themselves in jeopardy in a law enforcement position? What are they doing with this information? Why are they using it? Probably for nefarious purposes that could become violent. As in, I got her now, or I got him now, right? That's who that SOB is she's been with. What good is going to come of that? I mean, there's countless examples. I don't know what they were misused for. I just know they were misused. But they were clearly used for tracking purposes. Now, it's interesting because Flock is an Atlanta-based company. I did not realize that until I started looking into this stuff a little deeper. but it's an Atlanta-based company. And they have also made statements. I also found out last week that there's 95 jurisdictions across the country that are getting rid of these things. Yeah, and this guy Shellhouse was, in fact, a Uniform Patrol Division deputy. When we come back, hopefully, Neil McCabe. We'll continue the conversation from the White House. Don't go away. We'll be right back. I'll make it simple for you. Let's get over to Neil McCabe, who is at the White House. Neil, welcome to the program. Always a pleasure. We love you. You are a fan favorite OG for a reason. How you doing, brother?
Hey, fantastic, Mark, and congratulations for the new relationship with Valerius TV. That's something that is just going to explode. I think it's a great move for both of you.
Yeah, Neil, I know Neil's he's got a copy of that release, and I don't want to read that yet. I'll get to that. Hopefully I'll get to it by the end of the hour, but I will certainly be making a huge announcement on that, ladies and gentlemen, on Sunday in much, 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 much greater detail, Neil. But so you're excited about that. You do a lot of TV. You like that, huh?
No, it's a great move, and frankly, it's where media is going. It's I haven't had a cable bill in, I don't know, 13, 14 years, 15 years, right?
Why is mine $280 a month then? And I got all kinds of stuff I'm paying for. Maybe I'm just stupid.
Well, I go through Roku, right, which is on the internet, and then I end up subscribing to a bunch of people anyway. So I end up paying through, and I just got my notice from YouTube TV, which I cancel after every Super Bowl. And they're like, hey, buddy. So
come back. We'll give you this great deal. And then you get this great deal. And 18 months later, you forget, and it's right back up and doubled. I found myself in that situation too. It is. I know. I got into such a crazy
argument trying to get a gym canceled, right? Because I had moved and I wasn't even in the area for like 6 months. And I remembered, oh, wait, I'm paying 30 something a month for this gym I never go to that's literally 1,000 miles away. And I called the guy and he's like, well, you should come in. And I said, dude, did you even know I haven't, it's like you're 1,000 miles. And then I called him, and this is wrong, Mark. I called him. I said, hey, Sunshine, right? He said, you call me Sunshine one more time, and I'm hanging up.
I'm going to reach through this bum.
Okay.
Oh, tough guy.
Actually,
pull you up on a flock camera.
My pride didn't matter at that point. That $30 had become, it might as well be $1 million.
Yeah.
I was going to say and do whatever I had to do to cancel that gym membership.
Did you?
Yeah, it went through. I apologized, and we've continued.
All right. I want to point out, ladies and gentlemen, too, for those of you who might be new to the program, a lot of new listeners around the country, Neil McCabe is, of course, a television reporter with Real America's Voice, and you've been up. Let me ask you this before I get off flock cameras, which I want to do now. I'll go back to that. What's your thought on those?
On what?
On flock cameras.
Well, flock cameras, I think they're fine. If, because my view as a reporter, because I've had police officers over and over again, especially when I was doing local reporting in the Boston area before I became national, and cops would tell me I wasn't allowed to take pictures, or ambulance drivers or different people would say, well, you're not allowed to take that picture. And I'd be like, hey, if I'm on the sidewalk and I can see it, I can take the picture.
Right.
Right. So that's just the way it goes. It's like, I don't care who you are. If I can see it, I can take a picture of it, right? That's just the way the world works. Now with flock cameras, I don't mind if they're out there, right? And people are in public view. There's no expectation of privacy when you're driving around the streets, right? Expectation of privacy is very important, right? So if I talk to you, Mark, right, and I close the door, I say, listen,
right,
just want you to know,
right,
I don't like chocolate ice cream anymore,
right,
strawberry ice cream. And then we
right
go outside and then you tell everybody I changed my new favorite ice cream.
Right.
Well, if I shut the door, that's an expectation of privacy, right?
Right.
And that's part of the law. And you have to learn that as a journalist. Having said that, with these flocks, like, I don't think private companies should have them. Like, I don't think that's, if the government is selling that information to private companies, that's a problem.
It's a private company that created them.
You know this too because you're a very strong businessman, and you know that when you drive around and there's like one of those hoses on the street, right? And they're just counting the traffic before they put in another McDonald's or something. I don't know. I don't like surveillance, but if you're on the streets, there's no expectation of public.
No, I've covered that. I've absolutely covered that. Here's what I want to point out, and you were not privy to this, but I opened up the show today in the first segment prior to your arrival with former sheriff's deputy arrested for misusing flock cameras. That's here in my neighborhood. This is the fourth deputy now facing felony charges over misuse of these cameras for over a 2+ year period. And this is the fourth one. These are the four that we know of. Okay. And this is why it is a fascinating conversation. It really, truly is, because you're right. I made that very clear. There is no expectation of privacy in public. However, there are also limitations. And I use this example as a reporter. Okay. I'm not using you as a reporter. You know, the First Amendment auditors that are out there, right? They're a good example to use. They're out there filming in public all day long. You have no expectation in public. Some of them are jerks. Some of them are fun to watch. Some of them do it to instigate people, and some of them get their comeuppance, all right, because they do. But nonetheless, if that person were to then go across the line, Neil, cross the line, and find somebody that he found attractive and then show up at her door, then show up filming her, all of it in public, but now filming her everywhere she goes. Now you're crossing the line. Now you're getting, okay, now we're stalking. And that's essentially what these cameras are doing. So during the break, I was asking Greg, how about selective use?
Yeah.
How about the Bank of America just got robbed? Let's turn on the flock cameras in these directions for this purpose, for this reason right now today. And when we're done, we'll shut them off. I don't know. Is that even a possibility? I don't know. I have no idea. But it is definitely debatable. And I'm in contact now with a young woman who was just an absolute warrior that we're going to be bringing on this show hopefully very, very soon to talk in great detail about this. But anyway, I could go off in that direction the whole time. Neil, we've only got 30 seconds. When we come back from the break, I want to find out what's going on at the White House today and get your take on all the incredible, historic Second Amendment news that we have been staring down, and get your thoughts on all of it and what you think might be the anti-gunners might be up to, because you're pretty in tune with this stuff. We're talking with Neil McCabe, reporter in Washington at the White House, Real American. Oh, let's get me back up on there. Yeah, there we are. Get me back up on camera. There it is. There's that mug. All right. Yes. Well, guys, please visit Allsbreak. Neil McCabe, welcome back in. Let's talk a little bit about the White House. What's going on over there? I'm going to guess you were covering Trump's press conference just a little bit ago.
I was on my way here. What happened?
What happened?
I was traveling to a place. Where I could talk to you. At the White House, I couldn't. I was at the White House up until about 20 minutes ago.
I have to ask this question. Are you insinuating that the White House doesn't have good cell service? Is that what I'm hearing from you?
Well, the cell service is a problem, but also because the reporters are on top of each other.
Oh, yeah.
You can't really talk because if I'm talking outside, there might be somebody doing a live hit and they'll be like, "Hey, weirdo, do you mind?" Or if I'm inside this, it's just the, anyway,
that's called
I think
professional courtesy.
What people need to know about the president and his administration right now is that they are addressing the situation in Iran. They are addressing the situation vis-a-vis trade, especially with Canada right now. Mm-hmm. And they are also continuing to drive forward to not only enforce immigration, but to bring those people who shouldn't be here out. And so the first people they're going after, obviously, are the criminals, which they call the worst of the worst. But there's a lot of people in this country who don't belong here. I'm thinking probably of the 30,000 Haitians that came into Ohio, basically centered in Clark County and Springfield, Ohio, which is in Clark County. And so, you dumped 30,000 people into a community from another country that speak another language. They got another culture. That's a cult. First, you've got a culture clash. Second, all those people get free housing. And so all of a sudden, people who are working 40 hours a week, they can't afford the rent anymore because the rents have tripled because Uncle Sugar is paying whatever, right? Then you have these companies are hiring the refugees over the Americans for tax credit reasons, right? Because there's tax credits if you hire refugees.
Right.
And also, a lot of companies don't want to hire Americans because they're too willful, right? Whereas if you fire a foreigner, they might have to leave the country. So it's been explained to me over and over again that a lot of companies, universities, and a lot of just people who do hiring, they prefer foreigners because foreigners are afraid if they lose the job, they'll be deported. So they're much more compliant. They're much, they don't ask questions. They're, much better, and so they're much more docile when it comes to HR issues. And so, and whatnot. I think it's interesting what's going on in Canada, but I think with the tariff war, because Canada is positioning itself as a member, they're basically treating themselves like a member of the European Union. They no longer see themselves as part of the American sphere of influence, whereas for decades they were considered an extension of the United States, and that's no longer the case. For gun owners, though, I think what's really important is that, or people who want to own guns, is that they finally passed the rule, and it's now on the books. It will become live in the next 30 days for the firearms restoration program.
Yeah.
Which means if you lost your gun rights because of a felony conviction, you can apply to have those gun rights back.
Certain nonviolent felony convictions. I want to point that out.
Well,
so there's a lot there.
In the beginning, I imagine over time things will loosen up a little. But in the beginning, people are going to be vetted, and nobody wants to explain why some murderer got his guns back. And so if you're convicted of murder, I think a lot of people would agree that, your part of your punishment is the loss of your gun rights because you're, whatever.
Right.
But if all you did was steal $50,000 from your youth hockey league, right? And it was 20 years ago, and you paid all the money back, and you're really sorry, and you just want to go hunting with your grandchildren, that's a big deal. There's a lot of people who can't have their guns, and they were completely nonviolent, and it's like they've made restitution, and they've turned their lives around, and they've built businesses, and I've seen the paperwork, and I've spoken to these people, and it's like, and John Lott will also make the case that when, these people who, like, if you're a criminal, and I'm not talking about like a terrorist or a gangbanger, but if you're a criminal and when you lose your gun rights, well, those criminals are the ones who are maybe somebody is gunning for them. They actually probably need their gun for self-defense more than a regular citizen.
Yeah, John's mentioned that as well.
And then they tend to live in neighborhoods.
Yeah.
They tend to live in neighborhoods abandoned by the police. And so John Lott makes the very interesting article that the felons are actually the ones who need the gun rights more than anybody else.
Yeah, he's brought that up before on the show. It's kind of a weird dynamic in play. I understand what he's saying, and I'm in agreement with you on that. I had some comments I mentioned the other day. Somebody had commented that, we haven't gotten our rights restored yet. Why are we worrying about felons getting their rights restored? Okay, which, on the surface, I guess you could make that argument, except I can say this. I don't know who the person was, but do you have guns in your safe? The answer to that is yes, you do. You have your gun rights. There's just more to do to get back the rights that we've lost over the years, but you have your gun rights, okay? So let's make that baseline premise.
There's 1,000 initiatives going on across this administration for farmers, for businessmen, for people who send their kids to school and don't want their kids being groomed, right? There's all sorts of initiatives going on all over the government. Some of them are going to move fast. Some of them are going to move slow. But the idea that we're upset that this thing went through is bonkers to me, because there actually was an office in the Justice Department in the Office of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms that was set up to process paperwork for people who asked. Who you could always petition the government for your gun rights back, and the ATF did nothing. And then President George H.W. Bush decided to lose his reelection bid by becoming an anti-gun guy. Right? Nobody saw that coming, but all through '92, he's like being Mr. Anti-Gun guy. And remember, he resigned from the NRA. He banned the importation of AK-47s, and he defunded the office what was supposed to process requests to have your gun rights restored. And that's been moved into the pardon office. It's been taken from ATF. It's now in the pardon office where I used to work. And I actually worked on this initiative when I worked with U.S. Pardon Attorney Ed Martin. So I take personal ownership of this because it's like I'm tooting my own horn.
You've been neck deep in this, Neil. Hold that thought. Hold on to your thought. Neil has been neck deep in this, ladies and gentlemen. We've communicated about this for the last few years. We're going to continue the conversation with you, Neil, in just a few moments. We'll be right back after the break with Neil McCabe. One more segment. Don't go away. Put on the gas. Let's go back to Neil McCabe, White House reporter, Real America's Voice, coming to us from Washington, D.C., taking time out of reporting from the White House today. We appreciate it much. Long-time contributor, one of the OGs here on the broadcast. Neil, welcome back. Let's talk about the historic Second Amendment news over the course of the last few months. How do you think the anti-gunners are feeling right now, getting whacked upside the head seemingly daily by a rolled-up copy of the Constitution? Talk to me.
Yeah, it's almost like what we're really witnessing is the sons of Heller. The Heller decision, 2008, was like the first gun decision in at the Supreme Court in maybe 70 years, right? Because there was like a shotgun decision in like the 30s, right? And
the Miller case you're talking about.
Everything had been going the wrong way. And obviously with the Gun Control Act of 1968, but then, with the assassination, I remember vividly after the assassination of John Lennon, there was this movement to ban handguns. Members of my family, like aunts and uncles, were actively involved in this. And I remember one event at my grandmother McNeil's house where my dear father got into a shouting match with one of my aunts who was pushing this petition. And when Christmas came around, she bought him a cap gun, like one of those cap gun revolvers. I guess, here you go, Bill. But with Heller wasn't everything that we wanted, but it was an important pivot.
It was the start.
And since Heller, everything has gone in the main, everything has gone in the correct direction. And it's amazing. And it's and now what you're seeing is, so guys who are in law school for Heller, right? They're becoming lawyers, they're becoming judges, and they're now part of this new understanding and new appreciation of the Second Amendment. And it's sort of bubbling up from the grassroots. Yeah. You're seeing more and more of these federal judges and more of these appellate judges in districts that you wouldn't, or circuits that you wouldn't expect, are recognizing gun rights. And you're also seeing communities that typically were not associated with gun rights embracing the gun rights. And so, a lot of like, for instance, Ronald Reagan, a great hero, but Ronald Reagan passed a lot of anti-gun laws when he was the governor of California. And frankly, they were directed at the Black Panthers, because the Black Panthers used to march around with rifles, and that would scare the bejeebus out of people. And so, the minority communities were not necessarily associated with legal gun ownership. Females were not necessarily associated with gun ownership at all. And then, just from the feedback you get from listeners and the different advertisers who are trying to reach those listeners, that it's a much broader gun owner community than it was 20, 30 years ago.
Well, the two
And I
that you
think the
just
courts
mentioned,
have
Neil,
no
are
choice
the
but to
fastest growing.
The courts are going to reflect that.
Yeah, the two that you just mentioned,
Go ahead.
minorities and women, those two right there are two of the fastest growing demographics of gun owners and have been for the last several years. So there has been that change. And you're right about Heller. It was the basis, the foundation for everything that would eventually give us Bruen that really changed the environment. Now, ladies and gentlemen, in case you can't tell when you listen to Neil McCabe talk, Neil McCabe, it's hard to, because he's losing his Boston accent. So it's hard to tell that he's from Massachusetts. But Massachusetts residents and your family and friends.
You did drop one in, Mark, earlier when you said, however.
Yeah, I did. You caught that. Good for you. Here's the thing. Your family and friends are going to get their gun rights restored when it comes to the modern sporting rifle, as the left likes to call it, the assault weapons ban, because the Supreme Court has agreed to take those two cases. That's going to be heard in the next term. And likely on June 27th, we're going to achieve a huge victory there. We already know that. So again, I'm going to ask you this. How do you think the anti-gunners feel right now in the face of all of this? You got about 30 seconds.
There's two things going on. I think that they're thrilled. On one level, the professional gun control people are thrilled, because that means that the money keeps pouring in. They can scare the bejeebers out of their donors, and they can keep it going. Because the worst thing that could happen to them is that guns were banned. And it's just like the March of Dimes. When they cured polio, they had to figure out what. Fortunately, they were able to discover birth defects, and that you can never cure that. But it's, to their credit, the abolitionists put themselves out of business, right? Mm-hmm. And they went back to their normal lives.
Great point.
You see it on the conservative side, where a lot of conservative issue organizations actually torpedo success behind the scenes because they want to keep the money coming in. So I think that Shannon Waits and all those people who are making a very good living opposing gun rights, they're loving it right now.
Yeah, I think you're right. In fact, you're the first one that's ever brought up that angle. I didn't think about that, but you are correct. They're going to, you follow the money everywhere, always. And that's what these organizations do, ladies and gentlemen. They exist to raise money and pay themselves. They're all making hundreds of thousands of dollars. We were talking about it yesterday, Neil. The gun rights groups are all unpaid volunteers. We do this when we're members of these organizations and we fight in the legislatures. We do it on our own dime and on our own time. Neil McCabe, ladies and gentlemen, you can find Neil McCabe. We're running out of time, Neil. Thank you for being here. I know how busy you are today. We'll let you get back to the White House and reporting over at Real America's Voice. You can watch Neil at Real America's Voice. Visit him over there. We appreciate it. Neil, we'll be talking to you on a monster cast coming up soon. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get up and do this again tomorrow precisely because they don't want us to. And until we meet on the radio tomorrow, remember, carry on, carry off, and carry absolutely everywhere. Never leave your cave without your club. See you on the radio.